Now we could get into the Credit Suisse saga. Right now, people think that we are on the verge of maybe a financial collapse or maybe a big Fed bailout and, the trigger of a huge bull market. And that is going to depend what happens with Credit Suisse, or very much going to be dependent on what happens with Credit Suisse. So Wall Street Silver tweeted, Credit Suisse now has a probability of default of 47%. That is up from 38% just a few hours ago. CS, Credit Suisse, is also offering crazy deposit rates of 6.5% to attract and retain deposits that are being removed. Do we see a bailout by this weekend? Great question. Then we have the U.S. Treasury says it's monitoring the Credit Suisse situation. Yeah, shout out to that from FX Hedgers. And then Financial Times says Credit Suisse appeals to Swiss Central Bank for show of support. A share slide sparks wider route. So yeah, Credit Suisse has appealed to the Swiss National Bank for a public show of support after its shares cratered as much as 30%, sparking a broader sell-off in European and U.S. bank stocks. The request by Credit Suisse came after its shares sank as low as SFR 1.56 have earlier been halted amid a heavy sell-off, according to 3 people. Credit Suisse also asked for a similar response from FINMA, the Swiss regulators, 2 of the people said, but neither institution has yet decided to intervene publicly. So, yeah, this looks like a very desperate situation, to say the least. It seems like if people keep on trying to take their money out, they're not going to be able to meet the withdrawals. So what does that mean? That would be very bad. That would mean a lot of people are not going to have their money. A lot of businesses that use Credit Suisse are not going to be able to make payroll and cover their expenses and costs of operations. And yeah, I mean, that would probably mean a lot of people are going to lose jobs. That would have a ripple effect throughout the entire world economy. So it's a pretty concerning situation, to say the least. And what else was there? No. Yeah, so yeah, it's a pretty concerning situation. The question is, if obviously it's insolvent, which it's looking pretty desperate and they can't find a buyer, is the Federal Reserve going to bail them out? Or are we going into a Great Depression? And then you have to wonder, okay, so if this bank becomes insolvent, like how many other banks are people going to start trying to get their money out of it? Especially the small banks, like, people were saying with the Silicon Valley thing. So how many more banks are people going to try and get their money out, and then they're going to be deemed insolvent? And then how many businesses are not going to be able to make payroll, and how many jobs are going to be lost? And how bad could this get? So is the Federal Reserve, is the Fed going to allow this to happen? Are the Swiss central banks going to allow this to happen? I mean, that's really the big question. And I think anyone that thinks about it is going to say that the answer is no, they're going to bail them out. But the problem is that we have massive inflation. Already we have like elevated inflation, and if the Fed would go risk on again, then that means they're not going to be able to get to their 2% target inflation, right? So, I mean, it's an interesting situation. It's looking like there's probably going to be a bailout. And it's looking like, what does that mean for interest rates? Because interest rates are obviously what people want to know how they're going to be in the future. It's looking like they're going to have to come down because the economy can't handle it. Already you had 2 banks go under, which was directly caused by the raising of interest rates. And now Credit Suisse is possibly going under because of the raising interest rates. So, and then on top of that, you had Wells Fargo. This is from beststocks.com. Wells Fargo is looking to raise 9.5 billion through mixed securities shelf offerings. So they're trying to raise money, which is very weird that, all of a sudden during this liquidity crunch and, all these banks not being able to raise the money that they need for demands, Wells Fargo all of a sudden decides to start raising money. Could they be having problems because of the rising interest rates? It's very possible. And how many other banks are having issues that they haven't talked about yet? So it's looking like the economy can't handle the rapid rise in interest rates, which means what? Which means that they're not going to be able to raise interest rates anymore. They have to be out of their minds to do it. And people are even speculating a 25% raise just to say they did it. But honestly, people were saying that yesterday. And after this morning with the credit squeeze, I don't think they're going to be able to do that either. So until now, everyone was saying we're going all the way to the end of the year with the raised rates, and then maybe at the end they'll start cutting it slowly. I don't think that anybody could sensibly believe that that's the case anymore. I think they're going to be slashed a lot faster than people really think. I think maybe in the next couple of months. It's just too much. It's too much for the economy to handle. So yeah, that's really what I think. And then what does that mean for the markets? It means the markets go up, and that's why if you look at Bitcoin right now and you look at the S&P 500, they're kind of up a little bit. And obviously Hex also, because of the pricing in of the earlier than expected rate cuts. I think it's just a matter of time until that happens. Now, I didn't talk about this yesterday because we had Funding Jim on, so we didn't have time to cover this. But inflation cooled again. We're at 6% now. So, that's good. If it was considerably higher, maybe they would think twice about cutting the rates. I think we're at 6% now. And maybe, within a month, especially with this whole spook, we could be at like 5%. But they're going to have to cut rates. This is not going to be able to go on much longer. So what does that mean for Hex? That's very bullish. I think it's very bullish for crypto, obviously, especially considering that the market hasn't fully priced in those early rate cuts. It hasn't fully priced in that Fed can't handle. The Fed can't handle these. The Fed can't fight inflation. They just don't have it in them anymore. So I think that's very bullish. I think we're going to have very high prices in crypto and stocks a lot quicker than people think. Once people come to this realization that it's just not possible to fight inflation. We could have elevated inflation, but I don't think inflation is going to run away. And I talk about why, because we're in a first world country where goods and services aren't so scarce. So we could have elevated inflation, maybe 3 to 4%, with obviously crypto and stocks going to the moon, which I guess is good for us because probably Hex is going to outperform inflation in this kind of environment, especially because the excess money is not going into goods and services. So yeah, that's really it for the news. I think that's really the rundown. I think we're looking at a sooner than expected bull market, and I think at this point it's probably very safe to say that the bottom's in. Unless, this is what you really have to be looking out for. You have to be looking out for the Fed saying, yeah, we're not going to step in, and these banks are going to have to fail. And do you honestly think that they're going to do that? Do you think they're going to kill the economy? I don't think they're going to. There's too much political. There's too much political repercussions at stake that could lead to just such a disaster for the people that are currently in power. I don't think they're going to want to do that. I think they're going to choose inflation over a complete failure of the financial system. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. But again, we have, I think, 34 people watching. Please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We appreciate you guys tuning in. And please, if you want to learn more about cryptocurrency, thinking about how to approach pulsechain launch, you have questions about markets, crypto, anything like that, go book a free call with me. Links in the description. Also consider supporting the channel, supporting my work being a Patreon. you'll get access to my portfolio. You will get access to my trades. You'll join the weekly Zoom meeting, live and recorded courses. You'll be able to watch all of them and be able to attend them. You'll get discounts on consultations and things like that. So yeah, go check out the Patreon links in the description. And also, please follow me on Instagram. Let me share my Instagram link at furu.finance. I'm at like 50 right now. I'm trying to get to 100 end of week. So yeah, go follow me at furu.finance on Instagram.